welcome to the Inner Work Podcast. I am your host, Emma Hanson. This is the first official episode of this podcast, and I'm really jazzed you're here. This podcast has been something that I've wanted to do for about 2 or 3 years, and just within this past year, I decided that it was time to do it. I was getting a lot of intuitive nudges and just visions that were coming through. And yeah, I don't feel like I'm ready for this. I know that this is something that is not it's not perfect, right? And we'll talk about that a little bit in today's episode, because you guys, this is the 6th time that I have recorded this episode, the first episode. We'll talk about that more as we go on, but yeah, just within recording this first episode, there's a lot of crap that came up. When I decided that I was going to launch this podcast and do these interviews and just show up in a different way, boy, there was a lot of gremlins, I like to call them, the self-doubt, the limiting beliefs, all of those things really surfaced right around the time when I was about to really just release this into the world. And so today I'm really going to share with you and get vulnerable with you a bit about just my experience with this, because I know for a fact that this will maybe help a few people out there. Maybe it's just one person, but that's all that matters. Before we do that, though, I want to give you some insight on what to expect with this podcast, my mission, my vision, and why I called it the Inner Work. So first, I am Emma Hanson, your host, like I said before. I'm an energy healer, a energy alignment coach. I am very passionate about holistic, metaphysical, energy, all of that, all of those things, and living a high vibe lifestyle. It sounds kind of cheesy, but it's really true. When we are feeling our best, when we're energized, when things are flowing, that is when the magic happens. And so this podcast, the Inner Work Podcast, is really about creating that solid foundation for us through these interviews with people that will give us tips and tools, insight, things to contemplate about. And then so we can build that foundation so that we can experience fulfillment, prolonged feelings of joy and happiness, abundance, that we can just truly get out of our way. Like we can uncover and realize some of the limiting beliefs, the self-doubt, the scripts that have been going on in our mind, whether they're generational things or beliefs that have been passed down to us, or just things that have happened throughout our life that we are those limiting beliefs, and that trauma that we've been holding on to is causing us to maybe not show up as vibrant and do the things that we were really called here to do. So with this episode, I have some bomb-ass interviews with people. So each week you'll have either an interview with someone that I truly admire, that is very inspiring, that's going to just drop some truth bombs on us. And then the next week you'll have solo episodes with just me, whether it's me sharing some personal things that I'm going through, some things that have helped me on my soul journey. And yeah, I'm just excited because these episodes will truly just up-level your energy, open up your mind. Like, I just can't wait. We'll talk things, metaphysical, holistic, money, mindset, abundance, health, wellness. I don't know. And maybe even some stuff about aliens, because you guys, there's a few of you out there that know me that I kind of drop some things about aliens once in a while. So who knows? Maybe we'll get into stuff like that. I'm always into some funky stuff. So why I think the inner work is so important. I will share with you. So when I first, I would like to say, started my soul journey or the inner work was back about like 5 or 6 years ago when I started my yoga teacher training. And there was a moment in the training where I was just like uncovering a lot of things. I was really questioning some of the beliefs that I had. And I felt like there was this moment where all of the things that I had been suppressing throughout the course of my life until that moment were all just bubbling up to the surface. And I felt like I was drowning. I felt like I was going crazy. And and this was, through the course of doing yoga, meditation, we were reading books like the Bhagavad Gita, um, just having these like very um, high conscious conversations that a girl from small town Minnesota was like, what? I've never heard of these things, but yet like it felt super aligned within me and it felt like truth. So I remember sending an email to my yoga teacher, Mary Beth, at the time, and I just told her, I was like, hey, I don't know if I'm going to make it to the next training weekend. I just can't, I can't do this. I feel like I'm going crazy. I don't think I'm cut out for this. And you could just feel it within the words that I was typing to her that I was scared. And I remember sending it, waiting there, waiting for Mary Beth to write back. And all that she wrote back was, Emma, this is perfect. This is where you are meant to be. This is part of the process. Trust it. I can't wait for you to come back. And I'm going to actually have you share with the group what you're experiencing. And when she said that back, I was like, what? Like, feeling like you're losing your shit and going crazy is normal? It's like, So went to the weekend, ended up sharing with the group kind of what I was experiencing. And within that, Mary Beth just shared with us that, whether you call it like an ego death or just having these really expansive moments where we are pulling back the layers of society's, what society says is normal, what we should be doing, generational things. And we are left really questioning like, hey, am I on the right track? Do I really love my life? Am I treating myself with love and kindness? Am I healthy? Like you just question everything. And she's like, this is good. This is where we want you to be, because when we have this breakdown, this is where we can build ourselves back up with the tools, the wisdom that feels true and in alignment with us. And that's truly what this podcast is about, right? I really want these episodes, these things to make you curious, to have you question different aspects of your life or how you're showing up in life. And then to build and just have this insight or these resources or these conversations that can help you step into this high vibrational version of yourself. So that was really the beginning of the inner work, right? And from that moment in time, it's been a ride. And each moment or season of my life, I feel like I'm doing, different inner work. And sometimes it feels like a breeze, and other times you're just feeling really deep in the gunk. And what's crazy is that when I chose to, again, like I said, release this podcast or do this podcast, I had another one of these moments, these dark moments where I just felt like I wasn't capable, I wasn't worthy, I wasn't smart enough, wasn't good enough. And so that's why I probably wanted to release this podcast episode or this podcast 3 or 4 months ago. And it just hasn't happened. And I know that it's because I had some inner work that I needed to do. So within the past few months, I've been doing a lot of inner child work. So if you guys have ever heard of, if you haven't, I suggest or recommend looking it up, but it's called To Be Magnetic. And this woman, Lacy Phillips, it's very like science, like psychology based work, but you actually like go back and do a lot of inner work. You uncover things, you rewire the neural pathways and just some of the mind stuff that is going on. So I've been doing that, which has been really helpful, along with coaching and just giving myself some space to reconnect with the energy and the excitement that I had when I first got this insight about doing this podcast. So yeah, I think that there was a few things. So I want to just share a little bit more about this experience that I had, because I do believe that there are probably many of you out there that there's something that you want to launch or start a business or step into that maybe network marketing role or create more artwork and share it with people. Gosh, there's so many different things. And you have these moments of, oh shit, I can't do this. You feel me? Maybe it's like changing a job or getting out of a toxic relationship. There's just so many different things that we could all be experiencing. And when I was personally going through this, I had that excitement, and then I didn't have that strong core. Like when I say core, I mean like third chakra, like self-confidence, self-esteem, believed in myself, trusted in myself, that I started to kind of like outsource or look to other people to see how they're doing it and how, how they built their podcast and how they launched it and all of these things. And I fell into this hardcore comparison trap. Yeah, comparison freaking sucks. And I just remember being like, oh my gosh, I'm not ready to do this. Like I already had numerous interviews with some bomb ass people, and these interviews are so amazing. I can't wait for you guys to listen to them. And I already had them ready to go, just needed to do some editing, and I started comparing myself to people who just launched their podcast around that time and how amazing it was. Their marketing was fantastic. Their audio was fantastic. Their videos were fantastic. And then started comparing myself to people who've already been doing podcasting for years. And I was just like, nope, can't do this. I'm not ready. And then the perfectionism piece started to kick in where, I just stopped. And once I stopped, then I started feeling so much anxiety, so much shame, so much guilt, because I know that there's a reason why I've been getting these messages and this intuitive insight, or these intuitive nudges and this insight that's coming through. So I just felt like I was stinting that off and I wasn't allowing myself to just flow. Yeah. And so in that gunky moment, one, I was working with a coach. I was doing the To Be Magnetic and doing a lot of journaling. And there's a few questions that I want to share with you guys today, especially if you're at that spot of wanting to do some awesome stuff, but you're just feeling stuck. So the first question, if you are wanting to take a leap and do something, is because your ego is probably going to be just on high volume, wanting you to stay safe, not wanting you to move forward, wants you to stay in your comfort zone. Our ego isn't a bad thing, you guys. It does serve a purpose. It keeps us safe or cautious when something dangerous might be happening, right? But some other times it just gets into overdrive if we're not aware of it, if we can't really, I don't like to say the word control, but if we can't hone it back in, like reel it back in, it can just go on overdrive. So these are 3 questions that really helped me. So my first question that I had to, 1, journal about, and then 2, process with a coach was, what if this doesn't work out? So if I release this podcast and it doesn't work out, what's going to happen? And in that moment, I was like, you know what? If it doesn't work out, I'm probably still going to do it. I truly don't know what it would mean if it doesn't work out. Like maybe 5 years from now, I maybe have 5 people that listen to it, then I would maybe need to reassess what's going on. So yeah, ask yourself that, because there's this thing where when our mind, these scripts are going on repeat in our mind, they actually don't really make sense. And there's this crazy thing that happens when we actually like process them and say them out loud to someone. You'll have those moments of like, wow, like I can't believe that I was like thinking that for a long time, because it actually truly doesn't make sense. Like that wouldn't actually happen. So again, like writing it down or processing out loud. So first question, what if it doesn't work out? What's going to happen? The second question, what is actually the worst thing that could happen? So if I release this podcast, what is the actual worst thing that could happen? And it came down to like, people won't like it. People won't like it. I'll get backlash. I don't know how I would get backlash, but yeah, people just won't resonate with it. And then I had to ask myself that question of like, does that matter? I know for a fact, and I hope you know this, that when we create and share and launch and do these things, it will resonate with people. It will 100% resonate with your people. The third question, what if it does work? And I wanted to have this question in here because, yeah, the first two questions, that energy, it just, thinking worst case scenario, but I want us to shift it into best case scenario. What if it does work out? I was like, gosh, if it does work out, then, maybe these shows, these conversations can reach thousands of people. Maybe it will help build this great community where people can connect. Maybe it will allow me to have access to some of these high vibrational healers and coaches and leaders. Gosh, that would be freaking amazing. Who knows? Maybe I'd get sponsorships. You just don't know. Like, I wanted to think best case scenario, get really excited about it, because then you had that shift, right? And that's really important. But within that, I noticed myself kept dipping down into, oh gosh, I don't know if I'm good enough. I don't know if this is good enough. I don't know if I'm capable of doing this. So that's why continuing to work with professionals, doing that inner work piece is so important so that we can hold that more high vibe mentality. So yeah, those were the 3 things. And something that really came through too is, you guys, you were not meant to launch, to create, to start something and be perfect at it. I really need to remind myself that quite often, and maybe you do too. There's this beautiful book called Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert, and she in there said something along the lines of like, launch when things are good enough. And that's very important. That's powerful, because that goes against that perfectionism piece. Launch when things are good enough, because when we do that, that's when we can continue to grow. That's when God, universe, source can begin to open up those doors of opportunities or bring in those people that we are meant to connect with. But that is not going to happen unless we actually take the step or take the leap to do the thing. If we wait to launch when it's perfect, we're probably not going to do it. And we're going to be stuck in that same spot that we started in maybe a year ago, maybe 10 years ago, maybe a few months ago. So launch, share, start the blog, start the business, start the side gig. Have those conversations that you've been scared to have. Ask your boss for a raise. Find a new job. All of these things. Like, we have to at least make the effort and launch and do when it's maybe not the perfect time, or not when we're not super ready to do them, because otherwise we're just going to be waiting. So yeah, I just had to just do the damn thing. Like, I'm doing the damn thing today because I know when I release this episode, this freaking podcast right now, it is not as good as I want it to be. I know that the first maybe year of doing this podcast, I'm going to fumble over my words. I'm going to say things that maybe sound silly. The audio is not going to be the best. The video is not going to be the best. But I have to start somewhere so that I can continue to grow and learn and to get better. The last thing that really helped me through this is to really get back into the reason why I started in the first place. So it's kind of like your why. And there was this beautiful paragraph in the book called Girl on Fire, and it really just like flicked me in the forehead. And I'm going to share that with you and chat a little bit about it. So it says, things change when you realize you're here for a bigger purpose. When you understand that you are a vessel and that your small ego is just that, it's small. You are enough. You have everything it takes, and we are waiting for you. Gosh, you guys, we are here for a bigger purpose. If we just allow ourselves to follow the nudges, to follow the insight, and start doing the things that feel good. When you understand that you are a vessel, and this is an important piece, I tell my energy healing clients and my coaching clients this all the time. I am just a vessel. I'm just a conduit for the energy, healing, light, wisdom to come through. And that our ego is just small. It's that. It totally is. It's there to keep us safe, but again, sometimes it just gets on overdrive. It wants us to stay smaller. But we are meant to do more. And that doesn't mean that you have to do all these crazy things if they don't feel in alignment for you. But again, sometimes it's just as simple as having those hard conversations that you've been putting off for a long time. Or maybe it is something bigger, like launching a new business, a course, a podcast. Next piece is you are enough. We are enough. Just as we are. Yes, along the journey, we can continue to learn, to grow, to enhance our abilities and our skills. But just, we are perfect just as we are in this moment. And the other piece is, she even says, you have everything that it takes. All the wisdom is already within us. We just have to trust it. We have to be open to it. We have to allow ourselves to be that vessel, to allow the guidance and the insight to come through. Sometimes we get so caught up in outsourcing or putting our power onto other people of like, what should I do? What should I do next? How should I say this? How should I do this? When in reality, if we can just be with ourselves, whether that's through meditation, through prayer, to allow that guidance to come through, that's so powerful. And I love the last piece, and we are waiting for you. You guys, there are so many people out there that are waiting for you. They're waiting for your work, for your insight, for your energy, for your friendship, for your love. But we just need to take that step, even when we don't feel like we're ready, even when we're scared to shit. We just gotta dip our toes in, take that step in, and do the damn thing. Whew. Yep, there she be. So I hope that this episode resonates with you guys. Share some insight with me. If you're watching on YouTube, leave me a comment. Share this episode with someone you love that might benefit from it. Like, subscribe. That is how you will allow this podcast to flourish and for us to get some even just like crazy cool people on the show. we already have some amazing episodes coming up. So I'm really excited for those, like I said before. But I love you guys, and I am just honored again to be on this journey with you. So until next time, peace.